Following the success of her Eras tour, the American singer-songwriter Taylor Swift surpassed $1 billion in net worth in the fall of 2023. This makes her the first musician in history to become a billionaire purely from selling music. Other musicians, including Rihanna and Jay-Z, have already reached billionaire status. They used their fame to launch non-music business ventures or made other investments that paid off big time, but they made less than $1 billion from music alone. Swift doesn't have any brands or ventures other than her music, so as a pure musician, she's accumulated more wealth than anyone else in the history of the world. On the surface, this might not seem too surprising. Swift is the most popular musician in the world, having garnered more than 26 billion Spotify streams last year. But the popularity of the music itself is just one part of the story. What differentiates Taylor Swift is not just the massive size, but the fanatical devotion of her fan base. She has millions of fans who are willing to spend hundreds, if not thousands, and in some cases even tens of thousands of dollars on her various limited edition CDs, absurdly expensive concert tickets, and merchandise. The unprecedented level of devotion from Swift's fan base, or Swifties as they like to call themselves, is no accident. Over the years, Swift has embarked on a highly elaborate and sophisticated marketing campaign. All of her actions and stunts have been carefully choreographed to maximize control over her hordes of fans, ultimately allowing her to extract $1 billion from them. Join us as we analyze the rise of Taylor Swift and what she can teach us about monetizing celebrity in the age of the internet. Bloomberg calculated Taylor Swift's wealth as of October 2023. It has likely increased significantly since then. Her Eras tour is still ongoing and is only scheduled to end in December of 2024. Her largest source of wealth is her catalog of music, which is valued at $400 million. This $400 million is Bloomberg's estimate of the present value of future streaming revenue and royalties the music will generate. This only includes music Swift has released since 2019. Prior to 2019, the intellectual property rights to her music was owned by her record label Big Machine Records. We'll talk more about them later. Swift has generated an estimated $370 million of net income from ticket and merchandise sales. The gross revenue of the concert tours is multiples greater than this. Live concerts have significant expenses. You have to pay the venue, Ticketmaster, the stage performers, etc. Swift also has to pay income taxes on the income she receives. Bloomberg estimates that Swift earns 35% of the gross concert revenue as after-tax profit. Thus, the $370 million of net earnings translates to more than $1 billion of gross concert revenue. This number is continuously increasing as her Eras tour is still ongoing. Next off, Swift has generated an estimated $120 million from Spotify and YouTube royalties. This is all after tax. Bloomberg also includes $110 million for the value of her real estate. Here, Bloomberg's methodology is questionable. She indeed owns 5 mansions that are worth an estimated $110 million, but obviously she had to pay money to buy them. Since Bloomberg is estimating her net worth by adding up her cumulative earnings, it doesn't make sense to also add her property. Spending cash to buy properties does not increase your net worth, it just converts some of your wealth from cash to real estate. Even subtracting the $110 million of real estate, Swift's net worth has likely surpassed $1 billion by now, as income continues to accrue from the ongoing Eras tour. Finally, she's made an estimated $80 million net from album sales. Despite streaming services making album sales almost obsolete, Swift still sells millions of albums every year. Some people even buy the vinyl versions of her albums for $46 each. Swift's 2 main sources of wealth are the value of her catalog and the live concert revenue. We'll delve into both of these income streams, starting off with a catalog value. In 2005, at the age of just 15, Taylor Swift signed with a record label called Big Machine Records. It's common for artists to sign with record labels. The record label provides resources to help the artist record her album, marketing to promote the artist and album, and distribution expertise to sell the albums via retailers. Without the backing of a record label, most up-and-coming artists wouldn't have the expertise or resources to create and market their first album. In return for their investment, the record label owns the so-called master recording of the album. The master recording is the original source from which all copies and distributions are made. The owner of the master record, in this case Big Machine Records, decides how to commercially exploit the album. While each deal is unique, generally, the owner of the master recording receives the majority of the revenue, with the artist getting a small percentage. You can think of record labels kind of like venture capitalists. They fund a large number of up-and-coming artists. The majority, indeed the vast majority of them are flops, and the record label never makes back their investment. But once in a while, the record label will strike gold. This will hopefully pay for the losses that they made on failed artists. Almost immediately after releasing her first album in 2006, Taylor Swift became one of the most popular musicians in the US. By owning the master records, Big Machine Records received the majority of the revenue from album sales and ticket sales from the live concerts. this was worth tens of millions of dollars per year. Between 2006 and 2018, Taylor Swift recorded 6 albums for Big Machine Records, all of which were commercially successful. The exact terms of Swift's contract with Big Machine Records has never been publicly disclosed, but it is believed that Swift only received 10 to 15% of the revenue. By 2018, Swift was a global celebrity, and obviously had far more negotiating leverage than she had in 2005. When her contract with Big Machine Records expired, she signed onto a new record label called Republic Records, at much more favorable terms. Under her deal with Republic Records, Swift retains ownership of the master recordings of her new albums, and reportedly keeps 50% of the revenue. While this allowed Taylor Swift to enjoy far superior economics on her albums released after 2018, the master recordings of her first 6 albums were still owned by Big Machine Records. These albums continued to generate millions of dollars per year from streaming royalties, and were expected to continue generating significant revenue for many years to come. The present value of these master recordings was hundreds of millions of dollars. When she decided to leave Big Machine Records, she had a falling out with the company's management. In 2019, she started publicly criticizing Big Machine's CEO, Scooter Braun. She accused him of refusing to let her play songs from her first 6 albums at her various live events and documentaries, unless she agreed to make more albums for them, something she refused to do. In an interview with CBS, Swift stated her intention to re-record her first 6 albums. Based on the technicalities of copyright laws, this was indeed possible. While Big Machine Records owned the copyright to the actual MP3 files of the master recordings, as a songwriter, Taylor Swift owned the copyright to the lyrics and the idea of her songs. She is therefore allowed to re-record the songs and copy instrumentals, thereby creating new songs that sound identical to the old songs. Swift would record these new master recordings and be able to monetize them however she wants. In 2020, Big Machine Records sold the old master recordings to a private equity firm called Shamrock Holdings for $300 million. Shamrock was founded by the nephew of Walter Disney and manages the wealth of the Disney family. The upfront payment was only $250 million, but there was an earn-out provision, which could potentially bump the price up to $300 million. At the time, the albums were generating $15 million per year of royalties, mostly from Spotify. Thus, Shamrock paid a revenue multiple of about 17 times. In 2021, Swift released the first re-recorded album. To date, she has re-recorded 4 out of the 6 albums that Shamrock owns. It is expected that she will re-record the last 2 in the coming years. Swift has publicly encouraged her fans to listen to the re-recorded versions of the songs instead of the originals. The re-recorded albums have sold millions of copies, despite the songs in some cases being more than a decade old. Swift has successfully portrayed herself as a freedom fighter, defending her rights from the greedy record label that tried to exploit her. This motivated many of her fans to buy the re-recorded albums and stream them on Spotify as a show of support. This has increased Swift's net worth by hundreds of millions of dollars. This increase in Taylor Swift's net worth has come at the expense of Shamrock Holdings as the re-recorded albums cannibalized the originals. When Shamrock purchased the Masters albums in 2020, they were generating about $15 million of revenue per year. While we don't have exact numbers, this revenue has almost certainly decreased significantly. Shamrock did the acquisition in 2020. This was 1 year before Swift released the first re-recorded album, but it was also 1 year after Swift publicly stated her intention to re-record the albums. Reportedly, when Big Machine CEO Scooter Braun was marketing the master albums to potential acquirers, he downplayed the possibility of Swift re-recording the albums, calling her public statements about this a bluff. He suggested that it wouldn't be worth her time to re-record her old work, as she'd be better off just working on new music. This argument was absurd on its face. The master albums were worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Given that the lyrics and soundtracks had already been created, the effort needed to re-record them was a small fraction of the effort needed to write and compose entirely new songs. Obviously, it would be worth Taylor Swift's time to re-record them. It is extremely difficult to understand why Shamrock Holdings agreed to pay $250 million up front for an asset that would predictably decline in value once the re-recordings were released. After the music catalog, Swift's second largest source of wealth is ticket sales for her live concert tours. Her ongoing Eras Tour has already grossed an estimated $1 billion of ticket sales in 2023, and is expected to reach $2 billion by the time it ends in December of 2024. This makes it the highest grossing concert tour ever. The ticket prices range from about $100 all the way up to thousands of dollars. The average cost of an Eras Tour ticket is estimated to be about $250 each. However, the average price paid by fans is significantly higher, as many of them purchase their tickets on the secondary markets for inflated prices. In 2023, over 4 million fans attended the tour. A similar number of fans are expected to attend around the world as the tour continues in 2024. To get so many people to spend so much money requires an extremely dedicated fan base. In addition to the cost of tickets, fans in many cases spend hundreds if not thousands of dollars on travel, hotels, branded merchandise, etc. For example, CNA Insider interviewed 2 Filipino Swift fans who spent the equivalent of $1,100 each to attend Taylor Swift's concert in Singapore. This was equivalent to 1 month of their salary. One hardcore Swiftie claims to have spent $30,000 attending Swift concerts and other Swift-related expenditures. Even with millions of seats available, demand has far outstripped supply. Even if you're willing to pay the list price, it can be notoriously difficult to get your hands on a ticket. Tens of thousands of people are lined up trying to buy tickets as soon as they become available. Tickets often sell for thousands of dollars on the secondary market, multiples greater than the original price. This raises 2 questions. Firstly, why are Taylor Swift fans willing to pay so much to see her perform live? And secondly, given that demand seems to outstrip supply, why doesn't Swift increase the ticket prices to a market clearing level? A significant portion of Taylor Swift's fan base appears to be fanatically obsessed with her. You can find numerous TikTok videos of Swifties experiencing bizarre emotional outbursts triggered by hearing a specific Taylor Swift song. Taylor Swift is a master of engineering a so-called parasocial relationship with her fans. A parasocial relationship is when fans come to consider media personalities as friends, despite having no direct interaction with them. Except for extreme cases, the fan doesn't actually believe they are friends with Taylor Swift. Parasocial relationships are usually subconscious. They can occur naturally at no fault of the celebrity. However, Taylor Swift has made a number of marketing decisions, which greatly increase the propensity of her fans to develop such feelings. Firstly, she often makes specific references to her personal life, including her past romantic relationships in her songs. She also adds various Easter eggs in her lyrics that only experienced fans would understand. By sharing such personal details in her music, Swift gives her fans the impression that they know her on a personal level. Perhaps the most extreme example of Taylor Swift cultivating parasocial relationships is her so-called secret sessions. Her team identified various superfans on the internet. These fans were invited to Taylor Swift's house, where she baked cookies for them. Swift also had a secret session with them which was not filmed. This experience was a dream come true for the Swifties lucky enough to be chosen. So why did Taylor Swift host these secret sessions? Ironically, these so-called secret sessions were heavily publicized. The chosen fans were unwitting pawns in an elaborate marketing stunt. The fans were chosen based on their pro-Swift social media activity. Many Swift fans may increase their pro-Swift social media activity in hopes of being chosen for a similar event in the future. Of course, with hundreds of millions of fans around the world, the chances of being noticed by Swift's team is almost zero. But not all Swifties think rationally. So what is Taylor Swift's goal in fostering parasocial relationships with her fans? At the end of the day, it's all about money. Taylor Swift didn't become the world's highest earning artist by accident. Shortly after the Eras Tour began, BuzzFeed conducted a survey of Swifties attending one of the concerts. The average price paid for their tickets was $700. With tickets having sold out within minutes, most of them purchased them at inflated prices on the secondary market. One of the Swifties spent $3,000 for a premium seat right in front of the catwalk. His rationale for spending so much money was that he wanted to be as close as possible to celebrate this milestone with Taylor. Based on his language, you can see tinges of a parasocial relationship. Taylor Swift isn't celebrating anything with him. She doesn't even know who he is. When you feel like Taylor Swift is your friend, it's much easier to spend exorbitant amounts of money on her products. After all, the money isn't disappearing, it's just going to support your friend. When Taylor Swift released her Love album in 2019, she launched 4 different deluxe editions of the album. They're sold exclusively at Target for $20 each. A superfan could spend $80 to buy all 4. So what's the difference between each of the 4 versions? Each one has 2 bonus audio memos from Taylor's songwriting sessions. To be clear, these 2 bonus tracks are not actual songs. They're unedited, low-quality tracks. Each version includes a unique set of Taylor's journal entries, handwritten lyrics, and archived photos. Each one also has a unique poster. If you had any doubts as to whether or not Taylor Swift intended people to spend that much money, Target marketed an option to pre-order all 4 versions. So clearly the goal is for people to buy all 4. As it turns out, the 2 bonus voice memos are the same in every version. There are only 2 of them in total. So Taylor Swift wants her fans to pay $60 above the cost of a single album just to get some unique journal entries and posters. It's hard to view this as anything other than a cash grab. Given the parasocial relationship she has cultivated with her fan base, at least some of them would waste their money to buy all 4. Given that Taylor Swift's Eras Tour concerts are sold out instantly, and scalpers can resell the tickets for much higher prices, why doesn't Swift just increase the prices of her tickets in the first place? Demand is clearly greater than supply. so shouldn't she be able to raise the prices? It's a bit more complicated than that. The fact that tickets are difficult to obtain makes them more desirable. Seeing that the concerts are almost instantly sold out confirms that the tickets are very valuable, as a lot of people are willing to pay for them. Thus, if you're lucky enough to get the opportunity to pay the list price for the ticket, you should happily take it. The average price of a ticket for Taylor Swift's Eras Tour is about $250. Let's suppose that on the secondary market, people are willing to pay $500. At first, it might seem like Swift could double her revenue by raising the initial ticket price to $500. However, this isn't necessarily the case. A significant factor driving up the secondary market price is the perceived scarcity and difficulty of obtaining the tickets. If the tickets were priced $500 from the start, they might not sell out as quickly, making them readily available to anyone with the money. This ease of acquisition would diminish the hype and exclusivity surrounding the concert, reducing the urgency and excitement to secure a ticket. Consequently, the perceived value and willingness to pay a premium price would likely decrease, and she might not be able to fill all the seats. This is not just theoretical speculation on our part. We know Taylor Swift's team intentionally engineers scarcity as part of their overall marketing strategy. They have a promotion where if you order her latest album, The Tortured Poets Department, you'll be entered into a raffle to win a chance to buy Eras Tour tickets for full price. To be clear, the prize of the raffle is not an Eras Tour ticket itself. It's instead the privilege of buying a ticket for full price. Another way that Swift monetized hype around her Eras Tour is with a 3-hour documentary shown in cinemas worldwide. The documentary grossed more than $250 million at the box office, and Disney paid $75 million to license it for Disney+. The underpricing strategy for the concert tickets contributed to the hype and media coverage of the Eras Tour, which in turn translated to increased interest in the documentary. Despite her efforts to portray herself as a down-to-earth and relatable figure, Taylor Swift is a shrewd businesswoman. Every move she makes is strategically calculated to craft a meticulously curated public persona, which has enabled her to extract over $1 billion from her fans. Nobody becomes a self-made billionaire by accident. Alright guys, that wraps it up for this video. What do you think about Taylor Swift? Let us know in the comments section below. As always, thank you so much for watching and we'll see you in the next one. Wall Street Millennial, signing out.